talk a little bit about this topic of micro units. And are these a potential solution for the San Diego housing crisis? This is interesting. This also generated a lot of conversation here in our hometown of Poway because people, again, struggling with change, struggling with evolution. And what's happening here, these are micro units. These are small apartments, in many cases, far less than 1,000 square feet, that are going into some of these buildings. In this case, it's in North Park. And for the longest time, a lot of these micro units were illegal. It was illegal for developers to build apartment buildings that the apartment building or the units themselves didn't have at least a minimum square foot. This building also, by the way, has a lot less parking spaces. And that's always been a tremendous hurdle for development because when you have to have a lot of parking spaces based on city regulations to accommodate all the people in the building, well, then you lose a lot of that geographic footprint and they can put less units. And therefore, it ends up costing more in the long run, not just for the developer, but for the people that buy in. Well, now this particular unit is in North Park, right there in the middle of a fairly urban environment. And they only have a limited number of parking spots because they're encouraging people to take public transportation, ride their bikes, etc. And this is called the Parkline Building, and it's off of El Cajon Boulevard. And it has 406 square foot studio apartments for about $2,400 a month, and 644 square foot one bedrooms that are around $2,900 a month. Interesting. Now, that's still not cheap rent, but depending on your situation, this could actually be a pretty sweet deal because it's brand new. It's a minimalist setup. You know, a lot of people are kind of romantically attracted to the simplicity of an easy lifestyle. And having, in this particular case, a well-designed, brand new, self-contained unit for a single person, perhaps for a couple, not a bad way to live. And you're getting something that's really new in a really kind of a community here in North Park that's really going through a renaissance. I think this is interesting because now we have more high density. That means we can get roofs over more people's heads. This project is designed for renters who don't want a car. It only has 28 parking spots, and a goal is to get the renters to ride bikes or take buses. Now, this is also, by the way, built kind of creatively around a chicken pie restaurant, which makes it kind of interesting architecturally. But yeah, like I said, these prices are like about $2,400 for a studio, about $2,900 for a one-bedroom unit. And yeah, that's more than the average rent in North Park. But then a lot of the rental units in North Park are these really old buildings. So it makes sense that something brand new would be a little bit more. So Parkline has designed a digital display in the mailroom that shows information on 6 MTS bus lines that stop near the building, along with up-to-date departure times and delays. There's also a bench built outside for people that are calling Uber or Lyft. And there's a kind of a bike zone there. They kind of have repair tools and maps on the wall and a tire pump. So they're making it a nice kind of accommodations for people that are riding bikes, as well as e-bikes, which are becoming more and more popular. So this is actually not a bad idea, especially if you're young, you're single, you want to kind of live in a sort of an urban up and coming neighborhood. This is not a bad way to go. And especially, there's a lot of high tech people that have good jobs here in San Diego, whether they're working remotely from home or maybe they're commuting into an office, that pay very well. And this could suit those people. In fact, some of these people might be in really old apartment buildings in North Park that were built 40, 50 years ago and might say, hey, I can finally get out of that place that I really didn't like very much and get into something that's new and clean. And for a lot of people, this is going to be a big upgrade. Now, according to the developer, he said it would be crazy for any developer building a complex with limited or no parking to not go all in on bike storage. And you have to do it. And that's what they're doing. They're really embracing the biking. Parkline is an example of what city planners are aiming for, an infill project that maximizes a tiny footprint, only 16,000 square feet of parcel land on an unused lot. So they're transforming an unused lot into all these different units. And it's near bus lines, it's near bike lanes. And I think this is kind of interesting. Now, I have some photos here of the actual units. Let's take a look. And here you can see this is a photo of one of the studio apartments, and yeah, it looks kind of small. It looks like a hotel room, maybe like a large hotel room, but it's got a kitchenette, it's got a desk area, it's got room for a bed, and a dinette area. Not bad if you're a single person and you're out on the town a lot, you're commuting to work, you can still work from home. This is not a bad setup. Here is like a one bedroom setup, which is now the one bedroom actually has like a distinct living room, and there it's on a balcony with sliding glass doors overlooking North Park. Pretty sweet. And then finally, here's like a community area they have on the upper deck. And this community area, it has, let me see, where did I see the notes on that? Because I thought this was interesting. Oh, yeah. So it has a lounge area with chairs, couches, gas fireplaces, a grill, a foosball table. A real star of the show is the view, which stretches to the Coronado Bridge, downtown Balboa Park, some of the ocean and Bankers Hill, and it's all on the sixth floor. And there's also a gym, an indoor lounge area, a co-working conference room up there. Pretty sweet. So not a bad way to go if you are looking for something as an individual, as a couple, that might be interesting for you. Now, we said the rents start at $2,400 for these units, but keep in mind that the rent in North Park right now, it averages about $1,600 a month. And the rent in San Diego County overall is about $2,400 a square, $2,400 a month. So North Park, generally a more affordable area to live. And these studio apartments are sort of kind of in line with the median rent for the rest of the county. A little bit more for North Park, but it is brand new. But see, I like this idea. I like the idea of more housing units, more construction. This is going to increase the supply of housing, which is going to relieve pressure on the housing market. This is going to, as we have more and more supply, there'll be less and less, how should I say, of pressure on prices. This will help relax prices. And I think you're going to start to see kind of a shift as people transition from older condos or older apartment buildings into newer ones. That's going to free up a lot of the older ones that are going to be less expensive. Because I'm sure a lot of people have been sitting in those older units for years, and the vacancy rate is so darn low. So this is going to open up some opportunities. Now, for comparison's sake, there are other places that have also put on similar complexes where they've gotten rid of that parking requirement, but in different locations. So there's the Continental on West Cedar Street in Little Italy. It has 42 studios and no parking spaces. And it is 99% leased. Think about that. I mean, what does it only have one unit available? But you could make an argument, well, it's Little Italy. That's a very walkable community. But you know what? As they build more of these high density housing, those neighborhoods are going to become a lot more walkable. And even those people that are complaining about my hometown of Poway, you're going to see Poway Road become more walkable as it continues to evolve. And I think that's why I'm optimistic about all of this. I'm optimistic about the construction of more housing units will be better overall for our San Diego County metropolitan area, because there'll be more places for people to live. There's going to be a transformation in how people live. And our city is going to become more urban. But this is just part of this natural growth cycle that a lot of people are resisting. But this is also going to ease pressure on the housing market. It's going to upgrade a lot of these neighborhoods that have a lot of old, tired buildings. It's going to freshen that up. And you're going to start to see more of a renaissance in these communities. And I think this is a huge step forward all over the county. So bravo. In this particular case in North Park, they're building these units. I mean, what do you think? I enjoy talking about the the housing crisis in San Diego because there's so much discussion about it. On one level, people are upset that housing's too expensive. On another level, people are upset that housing is being built. They don't like the construction. They don't want more traffic. They don't like the change. But you can't get both. I mean, we need to embrace change. We need to embrace evolution because it's always changing. Even if you roll the clock back to the early 1970s when North Park was a lot quieter and probably a lot less people, and when Poway was legitimately a city in the country. Well, back then, the people were still freaking out because they remembered what these communities were like in the 1950s or in the 1940s, back when Poway only had one stoplight, or back when North Park had a lot of open sand lots. Things change. And so we just have to be more, I guess, embracing of change. And maybe you don't like the way the change is going on. Well, I mean, you can have your input, but then you also have the ability to change yourself. I mean, if you don't like the character of your neighborhood and it's not really working for anymore, then people are moving. And that's why you see some people leaving California or moving from suburban areas of California into more rural areas. And if that's your cup of tea, if that's what you want, well, then maybe that's what people need to do. But we can't do nothing. We can't not build, because if we resist this, the prices of housing will become more and more insane. Now, here's just a kind of a crazy story is my daughter has a friend, and she and her boyfriend are going in and buying a condo in Encinitas. And I was telling my wife, I said, "Oh, I'll bet that's going to be at least $1 million." But they were really excited because it was under $1 million. And here are these two mid-20s. They're a man and a woman, a couple going in on housing together, which is great. But it's incredible how expensive it is. But this is a fixer-upper. That's why it's so much less expensive there in Encinitas. They got it for under $1 million. But even if you put, the down payment down, I think their payments are going to be over $5,000 a month, which is a lot. I mean, it's a ton for a first-time home buyer. So hopefully they have, good paying jobs, or perhaps they're getting family support. I don't know. But if we keep resisting development, then we're going to see this become worse and worse and worse. And of course, the monthly payments are a lot higher now with interest rates that have been going up so much.